FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
I went from my mega church, which is seeker-friendly, barely has a cross. You kind of have to look for the Christian message in it. And it was just too shallow for me, and I wanted more depth. So I was drawn to Catholicism. And I love the 2,000-year history. I love the writings of the church fathers. I love the saints. And so I started, in a mega church, you just walk in, you're a member, basically. Catholics are a little more picky. It takes a year of conversion classes to go through. So I led this dual life. I was covering the sex scandal during the day, talking to victims, being lied to by bishops and their attorneys. And then at night, I was going to class and just loving the Catholic Church and all its rich history and its people. And I was able to separate those two in my mind somehow. And I thought, I'm going to put my faith not in the corrupt hierarchy, but I'm going to put my faith in the people and the church's history itself. And then I got a tip. And you become a Catholic on Easter Eve. It's called Easter Vigil. And so it was about a week before that, and I got a tip that this priest was going to be kicked out of ministry because he admitted to, in the past, to having being a child molester, molesting a kid. So I went down to the church. I sat in the back of the church, and he got up, and as these perpetrators typically do, he came out with sort of a victim-like statement. He said, 19 years ago, I had a boundary violation with a minor, and because of that single incident, I needed to step down because we have a zero-tolerance policy. So I'm a father of four, so I'm sitting in the back of the church outraged that a priest would be admitted child molester and would be allowed to stay in ministry, unbeknownst to anybody in the church. And he steps down off the podium. The whole church, huge church, rises up, gives him a thunderous standing ovation, tears pouring down people's cheeks. I was like, what is going on here? And it gets worse. Afterwards, they had a healing session with the diocesan officials in the parish hall. And after some real heated discussions how he shouldn't have been kicked out, they realized that this was going to be permanent. And so there was a motion to honor him by naming the parish hall after him. So it would have been, father/child molester Michael Petterich parish hall. And I'm in the back, I'm just in disbelief this happening. So someone seconds it, and they're about to take a vote. And because I'm a trained journalist, I'm looking around the room, and I see someone, and he's got, short cropped hair, big old muscles, kind of looks like me if you want to visualize. And he's got veins popping out of his neck. And again, as a reporter, I'm sitting there, this is going to be good because this guy's going to blow. And so they're just about to vote on naming this parish hall after this child molester. And he screams, top of his lungs, "Enough! Enough!" Everybody's silent. He said, I'm a cop. I deal with these people. I guarantee you that he didn't do it one time. And I have left kids with him, and the diocese didn't tell me he's a child molester. And you guys consider yourself Christians, and not one of you has ever expressed any compassion for the victim. It's all about the perpetrator. And shame on all of you. You guys should all be ashamed. And he walked out the door. So I was like, oh, that's good. So I want to get a quote from him. So I start to get up, and then some woman, this is kind of an aside, but it's funny. This woman in the front row stands up and goes, "There's something even more important here." So I sit back down because it's, this is going to be good. And she turns around. You got to remember, this is like a mob right now. They're just, the emotions all over the place. And she goes, "What's a LA Times reporter doing in our midst?" So I thought I was going to be saint or martyred right there, Saint William. So anyway, so they start yelling at me, and they say I'm going to ruin his life because it's going to be in the paper. And I said, well, when he molested the kid, he'd probably ruined his life. And then they said, but it only happened one time. And I said, look, I've done this story so many times that when the one thing that survivors hate is when they're discounted, when they're not counted by their perpetrator. And so once this gets in the paper, I'm going to get a call tomorrow from someone else because they're outraged by this. And no, you don't know Father Mike. He would never do it. We know him, better than you. And I got many calls the next day from victims of him. But I was driving home from that, and I was kind of shattered, because I thought, these people, like, probably the worst crime you can do is molesting a kid, right? And so they have an admitted child molester there, and these people would suspend their faculties to keep this guy's place in their mind. I mean, there was just like no critical thinking, and I thought, wow, this is what the church is about. I don't want to be a part of it. So I didn't go in the Catholic Church. I still cover the scandals, and I slowly stopped going to church. It took